How bad is it?
I do not have one.
So Kasmol is doing that. What are we doing? What are you doing? May I feel like millennials and Gen Zs actually can win an election.
Yes,
They can.
18 million people.
Nasikianga politics. It takes me like, nanipeleka mbali. I go way back. I have a story for politics, yani. Teddy niko naona ulikuwa na juzi WhatsApp ulikuwa na campaign ni campus.
Politics ya campus, nimekuwa kwa politics ya campus since I was in first year. Niliingia university. Sasa hii I'm in fourth year by the way. Ndio maana najitanga senior comrade. I'm a senior comrade. So I've been in campus politics kuanzia first year. And the first day niliingia nikafanywa uchaguzi hizo ndogo za class nini. Then a month it was like a semester after tumeingia first year nini, kulikuwa na hiyo the overall campus politics here elect the entire governing council na the congressmen, na nilikuwa PA first year, nilikuwa PA wa msanaenda kushinda na iliingiza dem. Ilikuwa dem ndo ilikuwa nimeshikilia and she won. So it motivated me na niliingia second year. And I went forward na mimi nikavai kwa the congressman. Najua siko nataka hii governing council then kwa sababu ya the election system. Ya delegates nini na mimi maskini. Najua inataka hiyo delegates, nataka mtu akona pesa kidogo. So nikaingia hii yenye watu wanapigiwa kura na ground, nikapiga campaign pale and I won. Na nilipata record votes ya 409, mtu hajaipata hivyo. So campus ya politics, it's very interesting. But I don't know, sijui venye huko nje iko, maybe there's a
wacha nikuambie. Kwanza niliona status yako. Nikakumbuka bana. Yani kwanza first thing, congrats. Yani sikuamini someone anaweza cheza politics at level campus, because ile nilipeleka somewhere back. Nilikuwa nimerun 2022. Sorry, 2022. And I'm still vying for 2027. But any little vile come kuingia, because I never knew politics ni nini. Niliwasikia tu wanasema politics, you understand? Nilikuwa najua tu tuko na ma leaders, unaona, wamekuwa elected through some voting system, unaona. So one day I'm like, uko mtaani, you know? And then unaambiwa,
Basi mbona kuanza kampo?
Kampo mimi sikuwa najua nataka kuwa leader. Mimi nataka kuwa prefect.
Uliamka tu siku moja ukaamua unataka kuvaa.
Hata sio niliamka. Niliamka nika travel nikaenda home. Home wasana niambia, hizo hii kitu unaweza, hii kitu ni yako, you know. Ushashinda hizo come, unaona. So long story short, niliingia that, and through that I was able to get an experience.
Yes.
An experience that I think if many young people had, the decisions we make in our country would be so much better. I think a lot of decisions politically should be made from a point of knowing. A point of knowing what leadership is. Like you, me, I'm sure ulikuwa campus. You have aspirations to lead. You have aspirations to be a leader. I know. And then you try and practice it by what you have there in the moment.
Lakini inakuanga so discouraging. Maybe I was a student leader in campus. And like school politics excites you. You know, it kind of lights a fire inside you. Because uko hapo unatembea makomrades wana like Teddy Waroko nini. Alafu you get really famous within the school. So it's a small community. Everyone knows you. Everyone acknowledges you. Everyone loves you. You do your work. And then once you finish school, now you expect to get into the national politics. Alafu hapo kuna bombo clat. Like it's a whole different experience, which is so discouraging.
Yes. So nilikuwa nataka tu leo tupige main story, we go back in history. Tujue like politics. Tulianza wapi? What did we learn about politics? Imefika wapi? And like what do we know about it? So this is the Politrix podcast, where we personalize politics, humanize politics, generalize Is the generalize ama Gen Zeralize?
Both can work.
Yeah. We Gen Zeralize politics. And I just think maybe for people who maybe are listening to us, ningependa tu yani mtu understand the concept of kwanza politics, concept of leadership from your perception. Because me, I view politics and leadership from my own experience as a person. So nikiona maybe a leader amefanya kitu, maybe ama a leader is doing something, ama what, and maybe people are mad, ama maybe people are happy, I can relate, you know, because I can put myself in that shoe and say, okay, if I was the leader, I also nifanya hivi na hivi, you know. So even like things tuko nayo saizi kama handshake,
Yes.
ama handshake, ama broad base, ama bread base, you know, I kind of view it from many perspectives.
Yeah.
I kind of view it from if I was in the position of that current leader. Yeah. I kind of view it from like if I'm the position of the other. Yeah. So, wawili.
Yeah, wawili.
Wawili. And then from there, it kind of makes me first of all have a real feel. Then now that makes me be able to like determine which way forward for a country, because I think if we're able to know first of all the core and the purpose of leadership, then from there it's easy to know which way forward in the issues that
first of all, I think that in our country Kenya we still have a very long way to go. We still have a very long way to go, because I was born in 2002. I don't know much, but from the history books and a lot of the documentaries I've watched a lot, I've read a lot about the Kenyan politics. You find that the same people who were existing in the 1980s are the ones who are still existing in 2025.
Yes.
They're the same politicians who have been taking this country.
Making decisions.
Yeah, the ones. If you see our current president, was there since 1992. The Youths for Kanu, his entire team. You see the people who are there, Kina Jirongo. They're the same people who are still there up to today. So we still have a very, very long way to go, and this is something that is making it difficult for the youths in the current generation to join politics and make a breakthrough. And that is why I think things are not working in our country, because these people feel like it has reached a point that no one can take them off from these positions.
They own the position.
They have been here.
Dynasty.
Like the president has been here from 1992. Actively involved in politics. He has been everything.
He was with more.
Yes, siku alisema akiwa alikuwa Malindi ama ati have been MP miaka 15, deputy president miaka 10, nimekuwa minister, have become a president, whatever I not become. Hii elections itakuwa tofauti na zile zingine, it will be different. So that is making it very difficult for us, and I think sorry to say this, but I think the only thing that can save us, the youths of this country, is if we come together and we know that these people are not superhuman beings. Yes.
Unajua, when I saw like you trying for seat on campus.
Yes.
I was like, fine, now you're doing it on that level. Yes. After you're done with campus, if you have your leadership in you, you're going to want to do it in the world. In Kenya. In Kenya. And you know your process ulikuwa umeenda through. Kuna some things you have to go through, convincing, challenging. Kuna pesa tulikuwa natumia hapa na pale hizo. So it's the same scope. So I just like for example for me, when I ran for election, kwanza I came to discover haraka sana that politics is very expensive. Unaona? Politics is very expensive, and that is why young people are not, you know, we don't have so many young leaders coming up. Because kama hujashikwa mkono, you see juzi Kasmuel Law saying in his interview on JKL, alikuwa anasema ati the reason why I'm joining ODM Youth League is because outside here there's no structure. Outside here there's no structure. Na like sasa the only place he thinks he can rise and make a difference is through ODM. I'm talking of Gen Z.
Really, like outside here there's no structure. No, there's structures everywhere. I mean, how many political parties are in this country?
Do you think
how many will he have joined? I mean, politics is expensive now. First on Kasmuel. I feel like the main reason why Kasmuel may have joined ODM is because he's eyeing a political seat, and probably that political seat is somewhere that is heavily influenced by ODM. Let's be practical. And also, leadership is good, and we as young people should get into leadership. But I feel like the main problem, besides how expensive it is political parties. Because I don't know what these people give the common wananchi, but political parties have Kenyans on chokehold. So if we are not able to penetrate those political parties or to get tickets at the party primaries, then we are locked out of leadership. Because you have to go now independently, which is way hard. Because in Nyanza, I come from Nyanza, you know, 6-piece will always suffice. Every election, ODM from June mpaka chini, yeah?
6-piece.
Yeah, 6-piece.
6-piece.
So
and I think it also happens even like I think even if you look at UDA huko kwao, most guys were elected under parties. I think it's just something to do with the regions, and the tribe.
I feel like if political parties recognized young people and were intentional in molding young leaders, then it will become so easy for us. Because then, yes, there's this whole Gen Z movement, but then we're going to have to now start afresh, form our own political party, get people to trust us. When we have parties like ODM, which will have molded a couple of young leaders by now.
But I think we are going to take different directions in the future, and I think the current generation is a very woke generation, and I tend to disagree with the fact that you need to bribe people back at home or your constituents to vote you in, because I think.
Can you hold that thought?
Yes.
Sasa,
Yes.
Maybe I'm campaigning.
Yes.
Unaenda kuongea like people like 200 people.
Yes.
Men and women wamali wamekaa.
Yes.
So the agenda is unaenda on our address. You see, just the same way you were campaigning and you were talking to evil.
Yes.
So it's just a bigger crowd. And then now these are now independent people, citizens, elderly, middle age na young. So unaenda hapo unaongelesha, watakusikia. Unaona. But sasa ukitaka kutoka, unaona, they expect something. So imagine that maybe say there are 200 people. Okay? 200 people, unajua sasa hizi unga, bei. So let's say you decide to give even just 200 shillings a person.
Yes.
200 shillings times
200 people.
How much is that? Now, when you are a young man,
Yes.
You understand? Yeah. This is just fun meeting. So, what you are saying at the electorate don't expect bribes.
Yes.
They don't expect it directly.
Yes.
But they don't know that their actions contribute to that.
Yes.
But continue.
But I think I have an example. I have one comrade of mine. He's a MCA currently. I've forgotten the word in Nakuru. When he was campaigning, he was trending. He was campaigning with the donkeys and such stuff. I also have another comrade of mine. I think it is called Kaksingri. He's a university student. I think in third year at the moment. Also, when this comrade was campaigning, he was campaigning while walking. He was campaigning with his fellow youth. So to some extent, I think that it also depends with how an aspirant portrays him or herself. Then with the current generation, the millennials and the Gen Zs, if you go back to the village, you tend to realize that most of them are educated, like civic education.
Yes.
Most of them know what's going on. Most of them are aware.
Even when you're there talking, let's say these politicians who have a lot of drama on the ground.
Yes.
When you do that, they're there, yes, but you can see from their body language that they're different from from the rest.
But I was saying that most of them are civically educated about what is expected of their leader. What the leader should do, their roles and stuff, and therefore I think if you come out as a youth, for example, someone of my age, in fact, the only thing that is stopping me from running for the governorship is just because I do not have my degree certificate.
You can run
by 2027. I'll be in 6th year, so I'll still not be having my degree certificate. Yeah. But if I had my degree certificate, I would have contested against Gladys Wanga, who people feel like cannot be taken out of that position.
Yes.
And I would have contested because I think one needs to be bold and go for these positions. A time has come where it is very easy to convince the public with your manifesto, with your vision, over convincing them with cash, and that is why these people still tend to vote. In the current political game, you find that everyone has money, like because unaenda kusource pesa and ukuje campaign. So everyone has money, everyone is a millionaire, but only one wins.
Then when you win, you go and steal so that you recover.
Only one wins. Only one wins. And it means that there's something unique about this individual. There's something unique about this individual. And a time has come, this 2027 and 2032. You know, Kenya, we're in a prison. We're like in a prison. And after each and every 5 years, we wake up very early and go to the polling stations to vote in our chief warden in the prisons. And even the politicians in the country, in the country today, they do not campaign while telling us how they will set us free from the prison. They only campaign while telling us how they will make our life better in the prison. And the Gen Zs, the other day we tried doing a prison break and we were almost out. Yes, but we were almost out. So we can do this prison break in 2027 or 2022 because the Gen Zs will not need to be convinced by some cash to vote in their leader. Yes.
Yeah, Gen Zs are very strong. We're very strong-minded. I admire how we think, how we reason. I admire how we've been able to walk away from tribal lines, and it's so beautiful. But again, Gen Zs don't vote. Most of them, sadly.
No, you know,
the people who mostly vote are those shoshos, shago, those mamas who will hear stories about 6Ps or any other arrangements that their political parties will set out for them. So.
And millennials, but I think
young now, people just generally don't vote, and that's a problem. Yeah, that's the problem.
But I think the next election may be different.
Because we have suffered as a country.
Yeah, we've seen the need of people.
And who are the Gen Zs? Those born from 2019? I think it's a very small chunk of the Gen Zs who have had a chance to vote in the election 2022. It's majority of us, although I voted, majority of us are going to vote for the first time in 2027. And the current mood in the Gen Zs.
And what do you think will be their voting pattern? Will they have a pattern?
Their voting pattern? I doubt if the Gen Zs are going to have a voting pattern, and it is very dangerous for our country because the Gen Zs feel like most of us, even on the ground, if you talk to the Gen Zs, most of us feel like there's no strong candidate or someone who is worth being voted in as the president. Maybe Okia to some extent because he has always been there for us, he has always been available. But the rest of the aspirants, you can see them, the Kalonzos, the Rigadi, these people are cousins. They're the ones who have been existing since 19.
There's something I said which is very close to I thought I heard the other day. Yeah. There's a simple way to describe Kenya and why people wanakosana. Right now there's the talk of the mountain uniting with Ukamba. And then there's the talk of broad-based, which is now Azimio. Not ODM, sorry. ODM now joining UDM. And this is a simple story I just like to always think of it like this. That if you go back to the history of Kenya, we had Jomo Kenyatta, right? And then we had Moi, President Moi. And a simple way to look at it was Jomo Kenyatta was a grandfather.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Jomo Kenyatta was a grandfather who then had a son. Okay. Yes. Actually, he's not one. He's not. He had 2 or 3 sons, and this is now we have Moi. Then we had the first vice president was Mike Kibaki. Then we have the likes of the Saitoti, that's why also I think Raila falls. And then now these sons that Jomo Kenyatta left in terms of politics, you understand? Now we have a country called Kenya, which is like a farm. And so now I kind of feel like everyone was given a portion of land and told, be farming here, feeding your people here. And then they have one person who represents as the overall always. Yes. So they have been rotating, and we are not seeing this because let's start from Jomo Kenyatta, right? Then Moi became president. Then from Moi, Kibaki was the next. Then someone like Saitoti, chances are he could have become president.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he died.
Yes.
He was the one in line ukiangalia hiyo line yao. There was also Omalwa, Kijana Omalwa. He was also a brother there, but unfortunately he passed on. So he could not take mantle of ile kitu mzee aliwacha. But then they still have, they're just siblings. So the next one, now in line, Uhuru.
Uhuru Kenyatta.
You understand? And Uhuru was actually just a last born who had been preferred, and said no, him. And then now when he was done running, running the enterprise now, it had to go back to, he had to hand over to a brother.
Yes,
and who is in line, Raila. You understand? But the other brother, who is kind of the young brother, who has been very aggressive. He kind of is, I look at him like, if you look at his history in politics, he broke so many odds.
Yes.
He's the first vice president to become president.
That is William.
That is William.
Yes.
You've left out Kibaki.
Kibaki became president.
And
he was also part of this family.
Yes, they're all part of this family. I think there are brothers from Kibaki, Raila, then Kijana wa Malwa, those are brothers Saitoti, those are brothers. You understand?
Uhuru Kenyatta.
Now they have children. Raila is up there. Raila is up there.
Raila, yeah.
And their last born is William Samoei.
Yes.
But also Musalia Mudavadi is so it's because it's more you created them. Why I'm calling them sons is look at who, because when Kenyatta was president, which leaders did he mentor? Mwai Kibaki,
yes,
Daniel Moi, you understand? And the old politicians who had passed on, And then now, who became President Moi? Who did Moi mentor? Moi started from Raila, you understand?
Uhuru Kenyatta.
Taduru. Yeah.
Endorsed him.
And endorsed him. You understand? Moi mentored Musalia Mudavadi. Moi mentored William Samoei Ruto. Moi mentored choose any politician. You'll notice that they were
So in short,
they're called Kanu boys.
Moi is still leading from the grave.
Moi said 1,000 years. And Moi knew what he's talking about. Moi knew it is just his children who are going to be agreeing who goes first.
Okay, in that
but while they agree who goes first, you see in those their farms, everyone has farm hands. You understand? So the farm hands don't know that these people are just brothers. That land, the land next door and this land, you understand?
Yes.
They're for brothers. But now because we work here and we don't work that side, as we only know our boss.
Yes.
You understand? We only know our boss. But our boss is the brother of the other boss. You understand? And that those people, again, the farm hands on the other parcel of land, them again, they just know their boss. So see, when we see these brothers have disagreed over small things like where they've parked the vehicle or who used the pickup and used to all the fuel,
Yeah.
we start cheering. That wametuzoea sana. Wametuzoea sana. But it's really just a simple thing. I think if Kenyans look at this thing, that I don't think these leaders are competing.
Yeah.
They're collaborating.
In that line of what you have said, the rise of William Samoei Ruto, it was not. Yeah, it was to some extent brought by President Moi, because it was Moi who brought him in the field during the Youths for KANU in 1992, which Moi later disbanded. But when William was contesting for Eldoret North MP in 1997, he went against his father, and in fact contested against, I think he was called Chesire, the then MP, who was serving his third term or second term. And Moi himself came to the ground and campaigned for Chesire, but William Samoei Ruto still won, and that is William's father. So I'm wondering why William Ruto thinks that he's now the superhuman, why we cannot get him off that seat. If he managed to contest against Moi and won, then who are we not to contest against him and win? Yes.
Anybody can contest.
Anybody can contest.
That's why you are saying you can contest against
and win.
And win.
Yes.
Not just contest.
And win without money.
Okay. How do you think the young people right now, how can the young people come together to make sure you become a leader? Because me, I know I have aspirations to be a leader. You have aspirations to be a leader. Do you?
Yeah, but not in the near future.
But having been a student leader, how is your understanding of politics now?
I think there's so many opportunities for us to be leaders, and there is a need. Times have changed. This is our time, literally. These people have been ruling us for years and years. And I think we can take two approaches. One will be very easy for us as Gen Zs, but the other one is literally like a whole rebellion, the way we began. Yeah. Us defying the system. Yes. Yeah, us saying we are tired of this system, let us set up our own system. Now that's the hard bit, because setting up a system which can possibly be a political party where we are able to even nominate our own leaders to contest for seats like the presidential seat or gubernatorial seats, it's going to be quite hard, but it's achievable. The second thing that we can do is maybe being embraced by the current system, by political parties. Okay, so the way Kasmuel is doing, but now for it to be intentional, even for Kasmuel to get there, as you know what he had to do to get there. He had to ride on a whole. He rode on a whole movement and got himself there. But now, like, I feel like these political parties are so confined. They only nominate their people. They don't have time for us youth.
So how do we, for example, let's talk about Kasmuel. For example, how can a party like ODM get many Kasmuels? Because they only got Kasmuel by chance. If it was not, Kasmuel has been there for some time, right?
Yeah.
And how do you think maybe the political parties right now can do to make sure they get, if they want to change in their ranks, and they go for leaders like you, say you can which means if you can compete, Governor Wanga, it means you can also compete in the party, right?
Yes.
That is if you wanted to be in the party, right? What do you think parties can do to make sure the process of young leaders coming into parties is kind of maybe easier, transparent, so that maybe they mentor the leadership.
Before I comment about the parties and the youths joining the parties, allow me to comment on what you said previously about how the youths can come together and make sure that we get into these positions and make sure that we control the politics of the country. I remember I read somewhere someday the Pope Paul the Sixth. I think he did. They always do the letters. Are you Catholic? Yes.
I was raised Catholic.
Yes, all those letters that he did, and he said, I think it was in 1969. He once said that the new name of peace is development. I know you understand that, which means that there will never be peace in this country. Why?
Development.
There's no development. There's no development. And you see, like I said, we are a woke generation. We are seeing these things. We have been existing for over 20 years, and that home in Ushago bado imebaki tu hivyo. Ile mara mtu ule maji mmekuwa mkiteseka for many years, and you now begin to wonder why we always select leaders after every 5 years, but things are not changing. So there will never be.
What about like these projects, SGR, Expressway came? Yes. Are those development?
Those, yes, they're development to some extent, but I don't think they're a priority. Personally, I do not think that SGR was a priority. First of all, you see the scandals that came with SGR, the amount that was spent as you compare to the one in Tanzania. Then if SGR was to boost our economy as a country, I think we were to consider with the surrounding countries like Tanzania, Uganda, or anything. And you see, I think Tanzania has a better railway system. So it is doing better than Kenya. And even for transportation, or for transportation of goods, or even for exports or imports, I think the Tanzanians are doing better, because if you consider even their terrain, it's a flatter terrain than the one in Kenya here. So even their train system is doing better than ours. And ours, it has had a lot of scandals, and it led to what about the Naivasha port? It's something that is not functioning. So to some extent, I do not think that SGR is a development. I think maybe it's a beauty structure that was built there. Yes, to some extent it might be helping our country, but
generally development is good, but what price are we paying as citizens of this country? Yeah.
And for the parties to incorporate us, the youths, I think it's all upon us. We should show these people that we are now very strong.
But we have been showing this guy literally vied. He was so strong.
We just want
something. How was ODM formed? It was as a result of rebellion from NAC.
Yes. And then
it began with the Chungwa.
Yes. It was rebellion.
How was William Ruto's URP formed?
Yes.
It's because he broke up with Raila Amolo Odinga.
Yes, he rebelled.
Yes. How did William Ruto form UDA?
Yes.
It's because he rebelled from the Jubilee.
Yes.
So as the youths, we can also
I'm
just come up
seeing
and
you.
build our own,
So
and
you-
make our own party.
So youth can rebel and,
Yes, and make it stronger because
how?
Back to your
yes.
back to your question. You asked how can political parties incorporate the youth or bring up young people and mentor them as leaders. And me, I think there's only one solution: kill corruption.
How?
In those parties, kill the corruption, make it fair, make the party primaries fair, because we've had young people come up. I mean, we've had so many young
it
people who
happens.
have tried to get these tickets, but now unapata ODM
Why do
or
you think
any other party.
Why do you think the obstacle is
Corruption and the leaders on the top,
at the top?
they're the ones who need to stop being corrupt. Yeah.
Hey.
but I think to the point where we have reached as a country, we should not continue depending on these parties. Yes, we can create ours, we can build ours, and that is why most of the candidates are thriving. Some nowadays, you compare 2017 election to 2022 election, there was an increase in the number of independent candidates who won the election in 2022 as compared to 2017. Unapata ni wale walinyimwa ticket ama ilifanyiwa ile kitu.
But where I come from, it was like only one.
So
I think only one independent.
I think in Homa Bay
Made it
there is
to
quite a good
the-
number of independent MCAs.
Hey, when you grow up, you want to be like you.
possible. It's always all about if you know winning an election. But that's why, let me tell you, the electorate they support young leaders.
Yes.
And kudos to the DAPK. Let's give them their flowers. Huh? Because for taking Salasia to
Salasia.
Parliament. And even though Salasia is I think PIA amekuwa too much on social media, but he's been doing a good job.
Yes.
And then you can see those people love him, irrespective. I mean, I don't think it's money that he was giving them.
Yeah.
I think Salasa, when Salasa was running, he didn't have money. That's when he was even building. So if that, how can that be emulated by other parties in other places and everywhere else? Because I think that will bring forth better also leadership. The way Salasa has come up and to some extent is a good leader. Though I think one thing maybe Salasia, I would maybe advise Salasia is, I know it works for him the way he does social media and the way he does, the way he does his ground activities.
Yes.
But as a leader, as a futuristic leader, social media can actually build even that constituency that you come from.
Yeah.
Because if the things maybe you talk about, you see the way Celestia uses social media, to almost like influence and talk about projects and to talk about Mumia's sugar and things like that.
Yes.
And also reply or rebut other leaders.
Yes.
Imagine if he was putting proposals.
Yeah.
You understand? Yes. How many people do you think maybe would hear that?
Yes.
You understand? And call him that, hey, we heard you talking about this, and this is how we can come in to support your constituency.
Yes.
So I think he's doing fine, but kama hizo kukunywa akakunywa then now dance tu kwa video. I think somebody else again somewhere who maybe can even Google Salasia, maybe somebody who's not even a Kenyan, maybe an investor.
Again, he's in a way spoiling the name of young leaders. Yeah, because then they say, oh, this is how young people behave when they get power.
Yeah. It starts to
I mean,
show,
me, I understand that concept because me, I'm a woman. Whenever we take up spaces, we have to give our best because we know there's a long line of women behind us. And any way that we act spoils everything for the people who are coming. I feel like young leaders now, like Salasia, should have that. They should know they are carrying an entire generation behind them.
It is the examples. The examples of those who want to be like them.
So I also don't like his approach to leadership. He
did good to get
he's
there,
just
but
too chaotic.
Honestly,
he's just too chaotic.
And now, as a young, maybe as a young Gen Z lady, how about Nairobi? Maybe let's say Senator Karen Nyamu, who is also a young woman in politics.
And now I can't even talk about Senator Karen Nyamu. But we saw how she behaved during the Gen Z, and I was one of the people who cancelled her. I still cancel her to date. I mean, these women, surely, do they know how much they are women? How many women like us desire to be there, and they have those positions, and now they want to misuse them. People should just do better. Leaders should just do better. I don't understand how there can be leadership without service.
Yeah.
Me, I believe leadership is service.
Yes.
So how can you be a young leader in the middle of a Gen Z revolution, and then you want to ridicule it and make it about yourself, try to get stupid attention from it. Who, that person does not deserve to be a leader. Yeah, so
if she was your bestie and you
she can't be my
bestie. Just hypothetically, if she was your bestie and she's that leader, and you have you have the proximity to be able to maybe tell her something, or what would you tell her?
I will tell her she's carrying the dreams of so many ladies, so many young ladies who are trying to penetrate this whole system, this whole leadership system. And for her to be there and act in that kind of manner, it's disrespectful. And she is ridiculing us.
So what would she have to do to earn your vote?
What can she do? I mean, I feel like she lost her chance. I mean, you see people's true colors during chaos or during tough times. And we could see like people like Sifuna, Honorable Sifuna, and those are the leaders who literally ran out of parliament asking police not to shoot Gen Z. Don't gun down Gen Z, you understand? Like, that is service. That is service. That is you using your voice to protect your people, the people who put you in that position in the first place. So for me, all those leaders, honestly, all those leaders who in that moment did not side with young people who are being murdered, I cannot support them. I will not support them. I will only side with the people who stood with us when blood was being shed. Yeah,
about people who stood with us, again, to the point of how can the youth reach up there. I think we already have some young parliamentarians who are up there. Like Sifuna is still a young man, Babu Owino is still a young man, and the rest. And you can see in the current politics in Nairobi, it seems like the Baba of Babu might actually not support Babu for the governor's race in 2027. And I liked what Babu said, that mimi ukivunja meno yangu nitavunja miguu, or something of that, I think so I think these young parliamentarians who are already up there can be the ladder to us who are still coming down here. Like they have rebelled. We know our people. Just like Babu Owino always says that a small boy with a big penis is not a man, and a big man with a small penis is not a small boy. We know our people. We'll never confuse them. The people who stood.
That is comrade talk.
And me, honestly, I don't understand how not old per se. Should I call them senior?
Senior.
I don't understand how, let's say, older politicians forget that they were once young, and they were once supported in their youth. Because most of these politicians began leadership and politics at a very young age, and now they are old. They've gotten power, and you see how their cabinets are. They do not.
Can I tell you why I think it's like that? I think because leaders are still in discovery also. Yes. Just an example, like let's say the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. He's never run for AUC. This was his first experience. So when he was running, maybe you look at him like, oh, this is our Baba who's run for president. What, you understand? And you expect him maybe to act a certain way. But it is his first experience through life. And he's also maybe learning through it and things like that. So I think that also maybe contributes for a bit of it. But mostly, I think it is they still have the ability to reflect back and know that even as they do self-discovery, that the decisions they actually make affect the country.
Okay.
But what about our current economy? Kenya. What can you say about our current economy? There's I think there's walikuwa napitisha inaitwa sijui what, kuna jina wanaziita watu wa budget yenye ilikuwa imetoka parliament, and I think there's another one. Have you gone through it? Because the main thing that led even to the Gen Z protest was
finance bill.
And finance bill is coming again.
Yes.
I do think there'll be any surprises.
Yes, I think there will be a lot. It will be more of the same. It will be more of the same because currently Kenya, we still have our big debt. Our debt is always over 10 trillion, 10.2 trillion. So they will still, when they were creating that finance bill 2024, President William said that he was trying to see on how we can reduce due on the borrowing, so it will be more of the same thing. They think that we have forgotten. If you check how do this finance people call this? I think it is called the budget deficit to the GDP ratio. They always say it a lot of times. It is the main thing that always leads to this fluctuations, these changes in this, increase in this, because they want to some extent reduce this ratio to, they said it should be something below 3% to show that our country is headed somewhere positive economically. At the moment, it's still at 5.6. Last year when they were introducing the finance bill, they wanted it to reduce to 4. I think 4 point something. So even in this financial year, I'm very sure that they will still do the same things. Maybe they will adjust a little bit, but it will still be more of the same. The taxes will still be up there.
So which way forward for Kenya and for the young people and Gen Zs? Is there a possibility? Because we have social media now. How comes it's not possible for people to mobilize even just around social media? You see Gen Z, and even they campaigned for reject finance bill.
Yeah, reject.
See, it was largely mobilized on social media. Why is it not possible for Gen Zs to do such kind of mobilization, but not towards going to the street or not towards mandamano or anything, but towards rallying together for any particular cause that will lead to, the positive growth of our country or any positive change or even determination of good leaders in Kenya? Why is that possible, and why do you think that's not happening?
I think it's very possible, but man, this country has problems. I always say Kenya is either in the trenches or almost in the trenches, because things are happening daily. I mean, even if we were to hold protests, we would be on the streets every week because SHA, there's so many things that keep happening, and I feel like Gen Zs are tired, and we are watching, and a time is coming. Believe me, no one saw the finance bill protests coming.
Yeah.
So believe me, a time is coming.
Okay.
Yes.
A time is coming. Is it 2027?
Yes, 2027.
I hope it is. Me, I pray it is.
It is 2027.
Why do we have to pray? Why not make it? Why not make it 2027? Why are we praying?
We can obviously make it.
But looking at history, the only thing that worries me is looking at history. Young people do not vote as much as they should.
Yes.
And that is the only thing that worries me about 2027.
Okay, if that's your greatest worry, then I think in 2027 we might not eliminate the current president, which the probability is very low because we are going to eliminate him. Yes. If he survives and gets in there, then he is not going to be like the 2027-2032 government is going to work. Ask me why. Because at the moment the executive have captured the parliament. Most of this,
first of all, we've talked about, in this our country nowadays, we want to make sure we are not rubbing anybody the wrong way. You talked about the head of state. You talked about the head of state.
Yes, head of state.
And then we talked about eliminating one. Okay. So,
we are going to eliminate him politically. Politically, yes. We are going to eliminate the president politically. Yes. But if the president survives politically and gets back to power, then things are going to work from 2027-2022. Because we are going to let.
Do you think there's anything the president could do that could change your mind about him, or that could make you support him for another term?
At the moment, in fact. Yeah. I did not vote for the president in 2022, but immediately he won. I was his greatest supporter.
Yes.
In fact, all my friends can tell you, it reached a point that even my entire circle wanted to cut me off because I was supporting the president.
Yes.
Why was I supporting the president? I went through his manifesto. Yeah. I was reading through his speeches, and I was very convinced that this man has a vision.
He was vibrant. He came with a different energy.
President William Ruto had a very great vision, and if he had implemented those, then I will still be supporting him at the moment. But things have failed. We are in 2025. The elections in 2027. He can change nothing in 1 year that he did not change in the past 3 years. So I really doubt if the president can do something new at the moment that can convince us again. Yes.
What about you?
I think if he starts listening to the people, he may salvage himself. Yeah.
If he starts listening to the people, he could salvage himself. What's
Because people are talking.
No, okay, now you talk now. Like, what issues do you think if he addresses people could
Address everything, literally. All these things that we're talking about. Why is RSF in Kenya?
What would you have done if you were the president after the June 25th, what would you have done?
That would have been a turning point.
After the X call, after he came on X Space, right?
Yeah.
If you were him, after that, after all those, and then he said he has calmed down and now he has stopped the finance bill. As if you were him, what else do you think you would have done to make the Gen Z, feel like you're responding to their issues?
For me, it would have been a pivotal point. Number one, stop the lies. I mean, just shut up. I mean, come on, you don't have to lie. Why would you even lie about chapati? But anyway, it's like I would, if it were me, I will, number one, stop the lies. Number two, I will listen to the people because people know what they want. And the moment you start defying that, they're not going to agree with you. Yeah? People want jobs. People want good healthcare systems. People want development. We want to be able to put food on our tables. Bring down the taxes. Bring down the debt. Pay the debt. I mean, you make money. Why is this government losing money? Like, did you see even the statistics for SHA? It's quite interesting. Yes. What do you mean 7 billion to train medical officers on the whole SHA thing, and then it can't be accounted for? We are talking billions.
Yes.
And then we saw the whole church. Which church was it? Was it last week? When Ruto went, President Ruto promised, I think he promised the church about 30 million. I'm not sure. But those kind of promises, those kind of statements, they agitate people. Yes. Why? How are you promising 30 million to build a church and we don't even have a healthcare system that's working?
Yes. I think
and people are sleeping hungry. Like, just come on, man.
I think some of the practical solutions maybe we can have, I think we also need to appreciate where the country is, where we are, and then now see what meaningful impact we can do. But some of the things maybe I think the president could have done, like, to get in good books with the Gen Zs, is one, first of all, he needs to give them representation, which means after all that speech, he would have even formed maybe a committee.
Yes.
And just selected young people, all through the country. Yes. Just to discuss maybe 1 or 2, 3 issues that maybe presented to him.
Yes.
He can be able to address, That would have shown at least some effort,
Yes.
That. Because he came on Express once. What is stopping him from calling a conference of young people, even at Bombers, too, even just university students? Yes. Another thing again.
Or even just coming to the ground and meeting the young people. How hard is that?
Yeah. Another thing I think like you see there was a reshuffle. Yeah. The Minister for ICT right now is
what's his name?
Former governor. Imagine he was governor, so amekuwa recycled because of hardship kama sijini. But I think ministries like ICT, youth, sports, and youth, sports,
sports, youth, and culture.
Yes. I think those are ministries that they should be given to young people, because if you look at an athlete, an athlete, the age group wanna fall mostly in 18 to maybe even like 30 maximum. Yes. In fact, it's 20 something.
Yes.
If you look at maybe which people are most ICT savvy right now, senior young people too.
Yes.
Now, this leadership, even if they're going for technocrats, why don't they consider like young people in that regard? Say these positions are reserved for people within these ages to these ages, and then they do it competently. I'm sure if we asked for CVs right now from graduates, you understand, who fall between that age, those who are qualified to be ICT secretary, you would be surprised.
Even those CAS positions,
even
they were quite unnecessary. Yes. You should have created more positions for young people.
Yes. Away from the
PSS and
away from the positions, there are a lot of things that are affecting the young people in this country. First of all, you can begin with the health sector.
Yes.
The Kenyan government cannot even implement what they agreed with the KMPDU regarding the medical interns. Yes. They now want to budget for chapatis. They cannot post medical interns.
Yes.
And they cannot pay those who have been posted, number one. The government of Kenya have received complaints from the university comrades that the new university funding model is not working.
Yes.
And in fact, we nicknamed the new university funding model to the new university funny model. We always call it the university funny model. Because it is not working. And
it's funny.
Even the court nullified the implementation of this university funding model. But instead of the government asking for changes or doing some changes in this university funding model, they're out there appealing. They're out there appealing to the courts. I saw the Ministry of Education is out there appealing to the courts. Our health sector also, if you check the SHA, it is not working. It is not working. Most of us who are still under our parents, we are really suffering. And these things are even bigger, affecting the young people more than the posts or anything. That the only thing the president could have done, he could have listened to us. He could have saved us through the education system. He could have saved us through the health system. He would have left the rest to us.
Yeah, yes. And then provide opportunities for young people.
Yes.
Job opportunities, that is.
Yes.
And the country will calm down.
So do you think young people can never mobilize, even if it's through the internet and what, just to, like you were saying about a political party? Do you think it's possible to mobilize form a political party by young people online, on social media?
Yes, young people can form a political party. What does it take to register a political party? The other day, Morare Kibaso registered a political party called Inject. And you see, in the way that the politics of this country is the way it is headed to, you find that these old people, or these senior politicians, still want to form political parties based on tribal lines. I hear that Ndindi Nyoro wants to form one, Rigathi Gachagua wants to form one. If these people can do this, then also the youth across the country, we can come together, form our own political parties and go for those seats in 2027. And
are you in any political party?
No, I am not in any political party.
And another quick question.
Yes.
Would Casmwell, being an ODM Youth League and the way he's advocating for young people, would that endear you? Would that bring you now as state? Would that bring you closer to ODM?
No. I will not join ODM because Casmwell Makoure is there.
I said,
because Casmwell Makoure is there. And in fact, at the moment, I have realized that my ideologies and that of ODM are very different. Yes, I do not want to implement the new university funding model like ODM wants by joining the government. I do not want to introduce SHA or SHIF like ODM wants by joining the government. I do not want to stop posting interns like ODM wants by joining the government. I want these things to work smoothly. And if I was to run for a political seat at the moment, I would go as an independent candidate. And I would go there and tell my fellow colleagues, I will tell the youths, I will tell our mothers, I will tell my fathers that this is how things should be done. This is how the people of this country are suffering. And this is why we should not vote this party and vote for independent candidate. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Any last comments? I think our time is almost up. Maybe just final comments.
I just wish we had a country with better leadership. I wish those people up there just shape up. And to the Gen Zs out there, I know we are very woke. We know what's happening. Let's keep educating our mothers, our fathers. Because even finance bill, it came with a lot of education. And it was the Gen Zs.
But the Gen Zs actually mobilized. They would just go and carry their mothers on the voting day. Right?
Yeah.
And fathers.
Yeah.
They have a higher chance of even...
Yeah, because most people have been ignorant for the longest time. And then Gen Z came up with this. Came with this energy, forcing people to take accountability, scrutinizing things. That's how we were able to even dissect the finance bill. So I just want to implore my fellow Gen Zs to please, let's keep educating. Let's keep seeing things the way they are, and let's not lose hope, because the future of this country is in our hands, and we can drive this nation to become great again.
Final comments.
My final comments are that I do not need to tell my fellow Gen Zs that that we need better leadership in this country. They know and they have seen. And in fact, to the senior politicians who still think that Kenya is going to, the 2027 elections or 2032 are going forward, things are going to be tribal, then they're going to be in for a rude shock. Things are going to change, and we are going to vote leaders based on competency. And the Gen Zs know that the war is not over. Even if you go into in X right now, you'll see that they're still commenting, they're still pushing on things. They might be getting tired as time goes by, but they know that things are not over, and they will wake up when it comes to 2027. And I'm very sure, that the Gen Zs will not stop fighting. Personally, I will not stop fighting for my fellow colleagues. Currently, as the Gen Zs, we always come together, discuss on matters national politics, discuss on matters economics, discuss on matters affecting the youths, and that is why even from if like for example in Nakuru, my colleagues or the Gen Zs are going to have a meeting or a youth forum on Sunday this weekend, and I would like to also hereby invite the Politrix podcast to come and join us there, so that the world out there can see what is going on.
We'd love to come and just get the get it from the horse's mouth.
Yes.
Because I think maybe the more we have, and that's why one thing we try to do at the Politrix podcast is we try to give a platform to young visionary leaders like yourself, who because TVs are reserved for a few people, but I know. If you put a young man in a seat and right now tell them talk about the state of the country, they actually can articulate it very well. Yes. So we are count us in.
Thank you very much.
Count us in. We will come and we'll join you in the consultative forum.
Thank you very much. You are invited, and we also believe that you will join us. As a millennial, we believe that you will also join us in.
Yeah, it's the same walk. Yeah, the same fight. The same. We want the same thing. We want the best thing for our country.
Yes.
I think one of the things we don't realize is that if people are eating the country, like it seems like they're doing, and now you can see the cost of living now at this time. So can you imagine your child's time, your grandchild's time? So people should not sit by and just watch. They can create change by ballot and many other ways.
I want to give you hope. I want to tell you that the economy during my child's time or during my grandchild's time will not be bad, because we are doing away with bad leadership in 2027. Past 2032, we are not going to have bad leadership.
2027
plus 2027 and 2032, because I told you that the president might survive politically, but in case he survives, past 2032, we are going to have good leadership in this country, and the economy.
It will just be one of their brothers.
No, we know them. We know them. In fact, if you run for presidency, I'll vote for you over the cousins. Yes.
Well, maybe one day I run for president. So yes, thank you very much. This is the Politrix podcast.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
How bad is it?
I do not have words.
So Kasmol is doing that. What are we doing? What are you doing? I feel like millennials and Gen Zs actually can win an election.
Yes,
They can.
18 million people.